Yo, it's your host T with Nothing But DOGScast, and I'm here today with Catherine from Bossy Kennels. Catherine, if you would like to go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself, and then we'll jump in the show.
Hi, yeah, it's Catherine from Bossy Kennels. Not too much interesting about me. Just just Bossy Kennels really. So, if you guys have some questions or anything you want to know, feel free to ask me.
Okay. Well, before we jump into these questions, I have some questions for you, but I'm sure you'll have plenty of questions to go around. This segment is going to be sponsored by Gold Club K9 Group, and you can visit goldclubk9group.com and use the discount code BDP, and that'll get you 12% off your order. Um,
Okay.
yep. So, Catherine, what inspired you to get into dogs, or who inspired you to get into the bully game?
Man, it's been a while. I think I got my first dog. I kind of answered this one time before, but I got my first dog when I was in college, and she was
Okay.
like a newspaper pit, and I fell in love with her. Before that, I wasn't really experienced with the breed. Fell in love with her. She was an awesome dog. So then after that, I wanted to get one that had a little better lineage,
Okay.
and then that was where I got my second dog. And then after that, I was just in love with the breed. Like I'd owned labs before, and then my
Okay.
mom had a cocker spaniel, and I just fell in love with the breed as a whole. Like the loyalness of the pit bull, the willingness to please. They were really different as a breed as the from the other breeds that I'd had experience with before.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so you committed after college or while you were in college, like full time to the bully game?
I committed partly while I was in college. I kind of started, but it was like more of a hobby. And then I started like studying, the different lines of dogs. That's back when Mugglestone was popular. Did a breeding with Boogie Monster, was like one of the first breedings I did. When old school Gaudy line dogs were popular.
Hmm.
Just kind of went to shows, acclimated myself with basically what I was doing, and studied the internet, search engine optimization, and everything about just marketing, and just kind of went slowly. I would say I got really really into it after we obtained Arnold, which was a couple years later, and that's when I started getting really serious about the dogs.
Okay. So who were your foundation, male and female?
Foundation male and female. I would say foundation male was Arnold at the
Okay.
beginning. And then probably the female probably was Bam Bam. That was one of his daughters. And she's Victoria's Secret's mom. And
Hmm.
they were probably my two foundation dogs from the very beginning.
Okay. And what about Arnold made you gravitate towards him?
Arnold was one of the most spectacular dogs I've ever seen. He was muscle on top of muscle. And I remember every time everybody saw him, they were all thinking that people gave him steroids and, something was wrong with him. And I remember the first time my mom ever saw that dog, she's like, don't put your face close to his face. Like, he really just had that wow factor. And he was the first dog I saw that really blew me away. He looked like he was almost from like a movie or a cartoon. He was owned by a couple out in Washington at the time, and I became friends with the couple. We did a breeding with him, and then later on, the opportunity arose for me to purchase him from them. They were going through some family stuff and had to relocate, so I was able to actually purchase the stud at that time. And they gave me the first opportunity to get him because they thought he would be in the best care with me. So that was really a blessing. And then that kind of was the beginning of the real Bossy Kennels.
Okay. And where did Bam Bam come from?
Bam Bam's from one of the first few breedings I did with Arnold, which was Arnold and Penny. And then that created Bam Bam, who's Victoria's mom.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so who should people look for in the future coming from your program?
Who should they look for in the future? Um,
So I know
we
Jumanji is huge right now.
Jumanji is huge right now. It really depends on what your style is. We
Yeah.
have a few different styles. Axel One of my favorite dogs is Good Bar's son. That dog, pictures don't do him any justice. Like in person, that dog is one of the freakiest, I've ever seen. For Merles, we have both Jumanji and Rome, two different styles.
Mhm.
Jumanji is in a league of his own as far as extremeness. He's extremely extreme. Like
Mm.
one of the freakiest dogs I've ever seen. Rome has a little more height on him. He's a big dog. So it really depends on the style that you like. And then of course we have Good Bar, who's probably our most famous male.
Mm.
He's going through ACL rehab right now, actually.
Oh man, sorry to hear that.
It's okay. Thank you.
How how long has that been?
He got one surgery on his leg and retore it during rehab, then had to get another surgery. And then they kept him at the vet for like 2 months at that time. And we got him back and he retore it again. So he had his third surgery. And now we have him at our personal office, um, basically babying this dog every step he takes. They gave us sedation to give him and stuff. He's just super active and super athletic. So like
Yeah,
he can jump over like a 6 foot fence like it's nothing. So it's just real hard to keep him
it's hard.
calm. So it's been a huge struggle for us. But I think this time we're gonna get it down pat. We just started swimming with them. We just have to strengthen up the rear on that
Okay.
side, that muscle, so that when
Yeah.
he jumps, he doesn't, put all the pressure back into the knee.
Okay. Yep. That makes perfect sense. Um.
Yeah.
So, so who would you say is the most famous of all the dogs? I know Good Bar is probably it. Um.
Victoria's Secret in her time was she's no longer having litter. She's been spayed. She lives with a really good friend of mine, an army vet that doesn't live too far from us. So she's a house dog with silverback. But
Yeah.
in her time, she was definitely the most famous, most talked about dog, probably one of the most passed on pictures. And in the current time, I would say it would be Good Bar for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and Good Bar has a lot of productions. Um, how do you manage like as far as like your stud fees? Because I know a lot of people look at their stud fees. They may go to your website and like, are you serious? But
Yeah. So
I
what's
don't.
funny? What's funny about that is that the stud fees have continuously risen when I've decided that I wanted to keep a dog more exclusive. So, Good Bar was 15 grand, and I recently, in the last 8 months, I think I raised him up to 20,000. And the reason I did that is I wanted less people to want to breed to him. Like basically, supply and demand is very simple. I always tell people you raise the price and the demand will lower because more people are not willing to pay that, right?
Yeah,
And when you lower the price, more people will pay it. So if you have way more people wanting to pay for something and you don't have enough of it, you should raise the price, kind of like puppies or whatever else.
yeah,
So with Good Bar, I wanted to breed him less. At 15,000, he was getting so many studs, and I wanted to actually breed him less and, keep him more in house. So I rose him to, raised him to 20,000. Same kind of idea with Jumanji.
yeah,
And surprisingly, it didn't slow down a beat. Like, I think I've sold just as many, if not more, Good Bar breedings now. So then it comes, okay, so if you want to breed them less, do you raise it again?
yeah,
At that point, or just shut down the dog. So it's been one of those things. What I do, I actually have run this as a business now. Obviously, this is not a hobby. There's a
yeah,
lot of people that are involved with Bossy Kennels. There's a lot of full-time employees. So this is a full business. So at the end of the
yeah,
day, you know, um, it's not just a hobby for us. So there are two sides to that, as far as all of that's concerned. But another ideology I tell people too is when they ask about the stud fee is if we're selling one puppy, if I'm going to stud the dog out to you, I shouldn't stud it out for less than what one puppy sells for. It wouldn't be
yeah,
smart. You know what I mean? Now I'm going to devalue the price of my own puppies. So I would rather not breed them for less than what we're getting for one top pick. So we kind of try to match it out with that too. So if we're selling a dog for 20,000 off of Good Bar Jumanji, why would I breed them for less than that?
yeah,
What doesn't make any sense.
yeah. And then
So
once his blood is off your yard, then it's gonna be used consistently.
yeah,
It's gonna be
exactly.
used a lot. So um, it kind. I mean, in your opinion, Um, does that water down his legacy when you stud him out too much and you can't really control who? the puppies are bred to?
I think that when you still breed the dogs for 20,000, a lot of times the people who are coming to me are keeping a lot of the top picks too for their own
Okay.
program. And then the other puppies that they're selling, they're selling it for a lot too because they know how much we sell them for, and I think it keeps the pricing high.
Okay.
So in a way, it is a good thing. Is every breeding probably amazing, or the quality of our dogs? No, maybe not. But I do respect a breeder who would rather go breed to a stud and pay 20 grand and create their own dog, because then they could pick the pick of the litter or pick two, rather than if you go buy a top pick dog, then you get one, but
Yeah.
you're not getting to create your own. So most of the time that I see these people, our clients that are paying to breed to Jumanji and Good Bar, they're keeping all the first picks, the top dogs,
Yeah.
inside their own program to try to create, their style, or, the next big dog. Um, so I don't know, that it's an interesting question. It really is. And it depends on how consistent the dogs are and how many good dogs there are in a litter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For that to happen.
Yeah. So have so with Victoria's Secret, were you able to reproduce her? Like I know you haven't been able to reproduce her as far as her stature, her structure. Um
The
but have you
closest we got was
yeah,
Demi and Lucci.
okay.
Demi, her daughter, and Lucci. Victoria had extremely small litters, which I
Yeah.
believe it was genetic, and I believe because of the line breeding, that's what can happen too when the breeding is really close. Demi, same thing. She had even smaller litters than Victoria. Um, Fortunately, we were able to get Lucci, which was her
Hmm.
son, and he was able to produce a lot of good litters for us. We have one of his sons, Slime, that I love, absolutely love, that kind of embodies that whole blood that I like, with all the rip tight muscle, but he
Yeah.
also has really heavy bone too.
Okay.
Um, so that's kind of what we were able to do. Some of Victoria's daughters that we have are super nice and shredded and have produced some night, like Bombshell and her
Yeah.
sister Willa, and then they have Willa has had big litters, Victoria's daughter, but
Hmm.
I kind of wanted to get away from it being super line bred or inbred, so that we wouldn't have the issue with the, smaller litters and whatnot.
On the litters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people might not know what we're talking about when we talk about Victoria. So I'm gonna pull her up so they can see her. So that's Victoria's Secret. Um, and she's phenomenal, like to say the least. Um, so Bam Bam was your foundation female, and then obviously it turned over to Victoria.
Yeah, correct. We
Um,
created a better version of Bam Bam with Victoria, I believe. It was Bam Bam and Ace that
yeah.
created Victoria.
So with Victoria, how many litters did Victoria have?
Let's see. Victoria had the first litter that created Pink, and
Mhm.
then she had the litter that created Demi, and then she had the litter that created Bombshell. I want to say three. I want to say three or four, right
Okay.
around there. Yeah.
Yeah. And is that where you normally shut them down?
It depends female to female, and it depends on how they give birth. And
Okay.
if you're C-sectioning and doing surgicals, you're creating more scar tissue on the female. So
Hmm.
you can't breed them as much. If your female's giving natural birth and, you're not cutting her a lot and she's recovering nicely and stuff, I believe, you can go for maybe the most five, but we've never bred a dog more than that. Probably 3 to 5 max is my opinion, and only five if you have a female that's giving natural birth and you're not cutting her, and then she's in great condition and she's not weathered. You really have to kind of know your dogs, and you can also talk to the vet about how healthy your female's uterus is, and what everything looks like in there and what's kind of best for the female.
Yeah. And I know you said that this is your business now. Of course, it's not a hobby anymore. Um,
Hmm.
so how many employees would you say you have total?
That works like as far as for the operations,
Yeah.
not the different partners and chapters. We
Yeah.
have one, two, three, four. We have four.
Okay.
Four that work behind the scenes at the office doing the daily operations, making invoices, answering customers, taking care of stuff, dealing with paperwork, um, all that kind of stuff, invoices, photography, all that.
Okay. So do you have like an in-house vet, or is it do you deal with the vet out in California?
We need an in-house vet. But no, we we deal with the vets. We deal with the vets, different vets out here. But it's become so overpopulated during COVID that there's just been issues. I don't feel like they're communicating the same that they used to, and then with the COVID, it makes it more difficult. So we have been a little bit struggling with communication with vets out here. It could definitely be better. Definitely.
Okay. Um, and I know a lot of people ask questions about like as far as like the ear cropping. Do you do traditional ear cropping or laser ear cropping?
Our the lady who does the ears for us does traditional, not laser.
Okay.
I've taken the dogs to many other ear croppers before, and I've never liked the results. And then we always go to and this is the same lady that I've been dealing with since when I owned Arnold. So she's been doing this for probably 20 plus years in Southern California. She does the traditional way and then, tapes and posts them.
Okay.
We only do it for clients that either request it or for our own dogs, of course.
Okay. Um, so I guess my question, the biggest question I have for you is how did you kind of come to dominate the industry full of males? And I'm sure a lot of people have that question.
Yeah. So how did I come to dominate the industry? I feel like the answer to that is so simple, but nobody ever wants to listen to it. Um, I genuinely treat people the way I want to be treated. So a lot of people in this industry and with dogs and everything, like I've experienced some horrific stuff. Like as soon as people have your money, they don't care about you anymore. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? As soon as they get your money, you don't get this, you don't get that.
Yeah.
For me, as soon as I have your money, you matter now 10 times more to me. So I'm going to take your call personally. I'm going to respond to you quickly. I'm going to go above and beyond. I'm going to treat you, the way I would want to be treated if I was in your shoes. And that goes for everything from trying to disclose every little thing about a dog. So if I have a customer's dog and it's sold for a lot of money and the dog has scratches on the head, or the dog gets a puncture wound from another dog, or maybe the dog's feet are getting flat, I disclose almost every little detail I can to every single person. Um, all the time, which is the opposite of what most people do. Not so much to scare them away, but to be super transparent with them. Um, honesty, integrity. Just treating people the way that you want to be treated is such a simple um, premise, but nobody does it.
Yeah.
Nobody really does it. And really caring about people winning and people succeeding, I genuinely do. So if you
Yeah.
come deal with me, I want to see you succeed, and I'll tell you the truth about this if you're asking about this, or the truth about that. And sometimes the truth isn't what people always want to hear, but I'm very, very straightforward. If you talk to, I've heard a lot of things about myself over the years, and I've heard I'm a cold-hearted business person and I'm this and I'm that. And
Yeah.
maybe I am, but I'm always a straight shooter. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I always tell it just how it is. And I think a lot of people, like that and respect that. And then just other simple things like, I do things that people don't do. People are taking pictures of these dogs through kennels, and advertising them. I think that that's insane. I'll take videos of our setup or something, but when I'm advertising a dog, it's coming out of the kennel, and we're posing the dog and we're running the dog, or we're doing action shots of the dog, and
Yeah.
I'm using a good camera, and I'm spending the time, and this stuff's not easy, you know so I'm trying
Not
to do it
easy.
better than everybody else. And then everybody else will go out 5 minutes in their yard, take a couple cell phone pictures, and that's it. And then it gets posted on Instagram, and sometimes I look when I'm scrolling and I'm like, I can't believe that these people that these people post this or post that. So it's just trying to do everything that the best that you can, you know what I mean, at the end of the day, and treat other people the best that you can. And it's again, super simple things, but at the end of the day, it pays off big time. I think.
Yeah. So what advice would you give a new breeder just coming into the game, as far as purchasing, um, and basically putting themselves in a position to succeed in the bully game or in the dog
Well,
game?
what advice would I give? Everybody's just goes out and ready to just buy any dog. They want to buy it. They want it to, look like it has big feet and look a certain way. I would say get to know the breed. You know what I mean? Make phone calls, go see some of the dogs in person. Take your time. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, and don't rush it. If someone doesn't have something available, it's better to wait for quality than to just get whatever you can get. I see so many new people going into the game picking up 6 dogs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
7 dogs quick. If you can buy 6 or 7 dogs in a week, they're probably not all going to be good dogs. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because you
Yeah.
know how it is,
Definitely.
being in a kennel, like, it's hard to get good quality dogs, and you got to wait and you got to get on lists, if these dogs
Yeah.
are going to be, something really nice. And a lot of people aren't patient for that. So I would
Yeah.
say be patient. And you see so many people later on, man, I didn't know what I was doing, or
Yeah.
this or that. So take your
Totally
time.
agree.
Yeah, take your time and learn what you're doing and ask questions and educate yourself. And at the end of the day, that's going to pay off tenfold, I think.
Yeah. So I would say,
Thanks for
I
coming.
guess, just save your money and invest in something quality over rushing. Um,
Definitely. And because a
yeah.
lot of a lot of people don't know what quality is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? At the end of the day, they don't know what quality is. So it's like, it's almost like shopping for, some type of specialized vehicle that you have no knowledge in. How could you go make a good purchase?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it's hard, because I see a lot of litters. I've seen a lot of litters where everybody's like they want the biggest pup, and the biggest pup ends up being the smallest adult a lot of times.
Let,
You know,
let me tell you a story about that you bring that up, because that's really funny. So there's a dog. I don't know. Do you follow our program pretty closely?
I do.
Okay. So you have to know who Mr. Perfect is.
I do.
Right? Okay. So I'm going to use him as an example. Mr. Perfect's mom was not a big dog by any means.
Yeah.
85, 90 pounds maybe. Okay. Her her lineage, she has Champion Merc in her. And
Okay.
Champion Merc was one of our smaller dogs too. He was almost a borderline standard show dog. So when Mr. Perfect was around, he was our keeper, and he was perfect. That's why I nicknamed him Mr. Perfect. He was perfect. But I told my partner, I said, I don't know how big this dog is gonna be. He wasn't a massive sized puppy by any means at the
Yeah.
time. 6 weeks old. He wasn't massive, but he was a perfect. Like his structure was perfect. And I said, well, hopefully he'll hit 100 pounds. You never know. But one of the reasons we decided to not keep him is we didn't even know if he would have the size. Just
Yeah.
like what you're saying. Okay, well, this is the same dog that I don't know what he weighs, but I think he's almost 130. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And he's amazing.
Yes. He,
Amazing. So what does that tell you? That tells you that size is not what you look at when you look at the puppies. You
yeah.
want to look at the structure and the stance and everything, because just like what you said, a puppy, just because a puppy is not massive and 30 pounds at 10 weeks doesn't mean it's not going to be 130 pounds. I've seen dogs like Mr. Perfect that aren't that size that are 130, and I've seen dogs that are 30 pounds at 10 weeks that end up being only 100 pounds.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of factors that go into that with the puppy. Some dogs, they wean better, they wean easier.
Hmm.
Others don't. There's just so many different factors involved. So picking on overall size, no, we don't do that
Yeah.
anymore ever.
So do you guys don't go outside of the yard at all now, right?
We do. We use Zorro recently. I
Oh,
bought 3 studs from Zorro. Really nice people to work with. We've been heavy into health testing recently, trying to, tackle that whole, there's all kinds of tests that you can do for the dogs and
yep.
x-rays and stuff. So we've been getting into that heavily. And Zorro had a lot of health testing done. We also use Champion Chinook, who is health tested as well. We've used Primo. I've had a few dogs from outside the yard. Um,
Yeah.
it's a little bit hard because when you breed in outside blood, you don't really know what you're getting temperament wise, and then again health. With our
Yeah.
with my line, I kind of know, so it's like, it makes it a little easier. But in my opinion, everybody needs to outcross. I'm not a huge fan of just inbreeding the
Yeah.
heck out of your program. I know a lot of big programs are, and they just want to line breed. Um, that's not for me. So you will see us frequently outcross for sure to try to bring in new things. Now, does it always work? No, but I think it's vital to keeping the line healthy.
Okay. So what are your plans with the pups from Zorro?
The black girls from Zorro are amazing. One of them is in season right now. I had a stud I really liked to use that I wanted to use. Vader, the guy
Mhm.
Trey had done health testing with him. I had saw him on the health testing board, but unfortunately, he's not able to collect and send them to me, which is another issue I have a lot of times. Trying to use outside studs is that a lot of people can't get to the vets, can't
Yeah.
send us the semen, can't do so. You run into multiple problems. So I was wanting to use him, and now we're kind of in the search again
Okay.
for something nice. But he was health tested, and he was a nice looking dog to me. So I'm kind of again searching so that I don't have to breed those back into our stuff yet. I'd love to outcross them one more time, and
Yeah.
then have kind of a whole separate bloodline to breed in. But we'll see how that works out because we're always looking for dogs, but my standard's pretty high, so I kind of want them to fall in a certain criteria.
Definitely. And as far as like health testing, I know you said you're working on your kennel getting every dog health tested now.
Mm-hmm.
And how far along in the process are you with that?
We're doing pretty well.
Okay.
I don't highly advertise it because we don't have 100% tested dogs in 100% every area,
Yeah.
and I don't ever want to come off as one of those people like I'm, snobby, like I'm better than you
Yeah.
because I do this and do that. Health testing is for bettering the breed, so it's
Yeah.
for my knowledge. A lot of people don't ask me about health testing hardly ever. Some people internationally do occasionally. We're pretty far along in the process. We've done a lot of dogs. Jumanji was pre-limbed with good hips, normal elbows, good patellas, perfect cardiac. Wonka's finalized. He's on the OFA site with good hips, good elbows, good patellas, normal cardiac. Buddha was finalized with fair hips, normal elbows, good cardiac, good patellas. We've been focusing on hips, elbows, and patellas.
Yeah.
Those are the big things that I see issues with these dogs. If you actually go and look at the research, they say 60% of this breed have bad elbows, which is
Yeah.
high. That means one out of two
Real
dogs,
high.
and for hips, it's almost 50% that
Yeah.
that is going to fail. So if you test your dog, so when people come to me, health testing is always a sensitive subject because a lot of people I feel like ignorance is bliss. They'd rather
Yeah.
just not know, you
Yep.
know. But whenever they tell me, I say, look, go test the dogs that you have and then know what's good and then breed to improve. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And then keep what's off of your good dogs. And I've had that conversation with so many people at the end of the day because that can only better, and I think
Yeah.
other people should be encouraging. And I'll never put other people down for health testing. It's probably the only Facebook group I'm an active member in is the
Yeah.
health testing group because they actually care about bettering the breed. And at the end of the day, I can't sleep at night if I sell a dog for, 20 grand and it's not it can't walk at one.
Yeah.
What kind of business is that? We have in our contract we don't guarantee hip and elbow dysplasia. But every single time someone has hit me up if there's ever been a problem with the dog and the dog's been young, I've always taken care of them. And even when you do test, this is what the most people against testing say. Even when you test, you could have dogs that are fail. Yes, you can. It's true,
Yeah.
100% true. But your percentages are a lot less,
Yeah.
you know? So there is a lot of responsibility behind that. So oh my God, we've spent tens and tens and tens of thousands on health testing on
Yeah.
dogs, and I've spayed and neutered big time dogs that we could have made a lot of money on because they've failed terribly. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Certain dogs. And, I just be quiet and spay them. We pet home them and, keep on moving.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's part of the problem is people lack the transparency that you were just talking about, and you just threw out some big name dogs, um, and you were transparent with their results, and a lot of people aren't. And I think that's kind of where the the bully game kind of falls some. an aspect of caring about the breed. A lot of people are just in it for the money, and the money's there, but the breed is more important, in my opinion.
Definitely. And I'm going to tell you something because I believe in the universe and I believe in karma.
Hmm.
If the money is more important to you than a specific dog or the dog's life or the dog's health, then you are not going to succeed, though. Because there's been situations too where they've been like, oh, do you want to, do you need, we need to spay this dog, or it might have, the life might be at risk. Spay the dog every time.
Yeah.
Every single time I'm going to choose the dog, every single time, and I've
Yep.
gotten to where I am today doing that. So that should say something. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? You don't
Yeah.
have to, be do things, agree to a or put dogs at risk or whatever, to succeed.
No.
Good things happen when you look out for the dogs. And I love the dogs and care about the dogs so much. One of the things I hated when I first got into this business, and I talked about this when I was on the Big Dog Cast before, was when I first got into this business, it was super popular to keep dogs in cages in people's garages all
Hmm.
day long. Like, I went to a bunch of like breeders and they
Yep.
had these dogs stacked in cages in the garage, and that's where the dogs lived. And someone would let them out once or twice a day to go to the bathroom, and that's it. The dogs lived in cages. And when I first started branching out, and getting partners and everything like that of what I did, my main requirement was, hey, I don't want dogs to sit in cages or even kennels all day long. I want yards for these dogs. I want them to have a good life, or I don't want to do this
Yeah.
at the end of the day, because I love the dogs and I felt bad for them, you know?
Yeah.
Um, which I think you have to love the dogs. You have to care about the dogs in order to be successful in this business, because I just think that that's how the universe works.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. So what? So I know I've seen your YouTube video of your layout of your kennel. Um, have you expanded it at all since the last YouTube video?
Yeah, we expanded a ton at our main facility that's out in the desert. We
Mhm.
added like I think 20 new giant yards out there. For the first time we have open ones, so we have empty ones um to put puppies in or to do boarding. I want to build kind of like a pool like area, but we've been super super blessed these last few years, so we definitely like reinvested and just put a ton into the outside runs over there. And definitely want to make a new video of it out there when it's completely finished. It's like 90% done right now, but we still have to add the roofs, and we're going to build some custom enclosures and stuff. Um, but we got to do a lot out there, and we definitely have over a quarter million invested in just in that backyard alone.
Yeah. So a quarter million invested back. Um, I think that's something else that new breeders should look at, and that's that you have to reinvest in your program. So you're not going to be out of the red when you on your first litter. And I think
Oh,
a lot
no
of
way. I think
they
for your
are.
first couple years, like,
Yeah.
think about whenever you start any business. Like, usually you don't break even for the first, they say, for the first 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Then you should be breaking even, and then year 4 and 5 making a profit. And that's kind of like a normal business strategy. And we all know how it is with these dogs. Things are not perfect. Every
No,
dog doesn't get pregnant, and to properly care for these dogs is expensive.
it is very expensive.
So,
Um,
I mean, I feel like when people get in it all for the money,
mm,
it's doomed from the beginning. You know
yeah.
what I mean? When you get in it and love the dogs and want to do it because you love the animals, then the sky's the limit. I never thought when I first got into dogs I'd ever be where I am right now. I didn't think I'd be able to scale it to the level that we have. And super super humbled and couldn't be happier. But I didn't really imagine it to be what it is now.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you say to the critics? Um, because I know it was like when you came into the game, I know it was like a lot of people looking at you like, yeah, she's not gonna make it. Um, what do you say to them as far as I know you're humble, but what do you say to them as far as you being where you are?
What do I say to the critics? It's funny. I try to ignore the critics. I try to ignore the critics. I got a lot of people that had, email or DM'd me talking about Goodbar had cancer. They heard he has prostate problems. Does he have this? It's just crazy the stuff that people make up. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? When you have a big name and stuff. And so I took a couple of the customers that had done that and I FaceTimed them. I was like, hey, come check Goodbar out. Here he is. He's at the office. And then, I hadn't posted much of him because
yeah,
he's recovering. The dog has a huge incision on his leg. Well, it's healed now, but and he's not in great shape. But then I started being even more transparent and started posting videos of him and him at the office and explaining more at what had happened. But
yeah,
I've heard crazy stuff about us. At first I tried to fight, to go out and put out the truth on it, on, anything that maybe I heard. But
yeah,
at this point now, it's kind of like it comes with the territory. So
yeah.
I
You
just I just block and delete. That's what I do to people. If people say things, I block and delete. If people and it's gotten to a really good point now because a lot of people are not bringing me drama anymore. Because the people that used to come to me and say, "Hey, this kennel said this," I told them,
yeah,
"Hey, don't tell me one more thing that these people say. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Don't tell me one more thing that they say because I don't want to hear it. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. And what does it do? It just annoys me for part of my day. So I think kind of ignoring that and ignoring the negativity, ignoring critics and focusing on yourself is pretty much the most important thing that you can do. Especially wasting time on people, that are just there to bring you down. It's kind of pointless.
yeah. And it's a lot of that in the bully game. Um,
A lot, a lot,
yeah,
a lot, a lot.
yeah, and it's a lot of people like I personally I ask people to be on the show. The show's just starting. This is our fifth episode, so
Nice.
you know,
Congratulations. It's pretty
thank
cool.
yeah, I appreciate it. But I ask people a lot. Like I message people nonstop. I don't know how many messages I sent, but some people reply with a no. Some people, say not right now. Um, but it's like if you don't ask, you don't know. So that's
Exactly.
kind of where I am. Um, but I want to build my brand and I want to get people on the show that want to be on the show. Um, and that's not saying that the people that I've asked it have told me no in a nice way that I wouldn't ask them again in the future. But some people had, nah, I'm not doing that. Like, nah, that's not worth my time. That's fine. Um, I chalk it up. Good luck with everything you got going on, and I move on to the next one. Um,
That's
so
not
it's
very nice to say it's not
nah,
worth their time.
yeah,
That's not very
yeah,
nice. that
yeah. I
it
mean, growing up, I got told no all my life. So you telling me no doesn't bother me. It's the way you say it though. Um,
yeah, be
and I'm
respectful at
yeah,
least.
yeah, and I'm respectful. Like even if you come off like that, I hey man, that's on you. That's kind of how I feel about it. So I keep pushing. Um, and I think
Good
like
for you.
a lot of people.
You emailed us and said,
Mhm.
however you emailed us and asked us, you were very respectful and gave a date that had plenty of time and um and the way I see it is, hey, you're trying to do this and why not? At the end of the day, you're trying to talk about dogs and educate people and help people and bring awareness to certain things and why not? So it's definitely worth my time for what that's worth.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I appreciate it. And you guys responded. Um, and it's hard to get bigger names on shows like this that are just starting. So I definitely appreciate you being on the show and taking time out of your day. And I know
Yeah,
it's
of
like the
course.
middle of your day or the end of your day, Christmas day. But I appreciate you taking out the time and kind of blessing the show with your presence.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah, and I guess
Do you publish it to YouTube or
it,
what do you do with it after?
yeah, yeah. So it's published to YouTube. It's published to IGTV. It's all on all podcast platforms. Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google. Um, so
Nice.
we're published everywhere on Facebook as well. Um, so I just try to reach as many people as possible.
And where are you located?
I'm located in Virginia, in Charlottesville.
Okay. Nice, nice.
So we do have a question. Uh, Eugene wants to know: do you feed raw or kibble, and then supplements?
So we feed kibble to our grown dogs. We feed raw when we're weaning our puppies. A lot of the times when we're
Okay.
first weaning them, we feed raw. Supplements. I'm a huge advocate of ester C. Ester C is a supplement that's a form of vitamin C. We give 500 milligrams morning and night to dogs during the rapid growth stage. Whenever their pasterns start to get flat, or if their feet start to get flat, which we see a lot, especially with these huge dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Ester C and raised food bowls works wonders. It actually helps them strengthen their bones so their bones can support all their extra weight. Because when they're growing that rapidly, and if you see, there's a lot of dogs with funny looking feet.
Yeah.
So we're a big advocate of Ester C. That's pretty much the main supplement that we use. And then you don't want to put too much protein on them when they're young. So we stop the raw, with the puppies by the time they're 8 or 9 weeks usually.
Okay.
And then we go to make sure we have a low protein food because this is when they start growing rapidly. From 8 weeks to like 16, 4 months to 5 months, they go through those crazy growth stages. So that's
Okay.
when you have to be careful, of the pasterns and basically just keeping everything in order.
Okay. So what kind of kibble would you go to? You said low protein.
For the large breed dogs, if
Yeah.
yeah, if you see any type of growth issues, like the main one I see is with feet.
Mm-hmm.
You can also see sometimes their front arm starts to buckle.
Yep.
um there's just other certain things you can see, but yeah, low protein, because too much protein and too much fat is just going to put too much weight on the dogs. And it's a huge misconception about we want to keep our puppies fat as possible so this dog is going to grow up to be big.
Yeah.
It does not matter how fat you keep your puppy. That dog is going to be how big that dog is supposed to be. Whether you have a puppy that's 4 months and 40 pounds or 4 months and 75 pounds, and you feed that dog hamburgers from Jack in the Box all day, the difference is going to be one's going to be healthy and one's not. But the
Yeah.
final mature weight it's not going to make a difference whatsoever.
Yeah. So it's more genetics
It's genetics.
than
It's all
anything.
genetics. And then
Yeah.
it's kind of like I explain to people like this. I say if LeBron James eats McDonald's every single day, he's still going to be LeBron James. He's just not going to be as healthy. If
Yeah.
you eat anything LeBron James eats, you're still not going to be LeBron James. Like, you're not going to be him. You don't have his genetics, you
Yeah.
know? So the food is for the health of the dog, the health and the appearance, but it's really not going to alter the genetics very much.
Yeah. So how often do you run into allergies and things like that?
Allergies. We're lucky we don't have a ton of allergies. Blackmail got allergies, started getting
Mhm.
allergies when he was 6. Um he's I'm trying to think if we have any other dogs in our program that I think he's the only one in our program that even has allergies. He's neutered now.
Okay.
But he does have allergies now. I put him on a food called V Dog Food, which is a
Mhm.
vegan dog food from Amazon, and I've had fabulous results with that. I've also recommended it to people that have had issues with allergies. I've had a handful of clients have issues with dogs with allergies, but not a ton, thank God. Um, if a dog, if we had struggled with the dog, early on and, during its breeding time and it was just having allergy after allergy, we would probably remove it from our breeding program. It's just
Oh,
because it's not something I really want to deal with. And it depends on, the type of allergy and how serious it is.
yeah. Yeah. So I know one of my friends, his dog is allergic to chicken, which sucks for him. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's common with these dogs, though. I mean,
Yeah.
I've just heard of so many allergies. Thank God we don't deal with it with most of our dogs, but I've heard from a lot of people. And
Yeah.
I know you can get certain tests and stuff done on the dogs, but yeah, that's difficult, especially chicken.
Yeah. So when you I know you said you look for when you go outside of your yard, I see like now I see a lot of color chasers. Um and I don't think that's the right thing to do necessarily. Um for me I think it would be more of a I look for structure before before color. I mean, structure and I think lineage to
Uh-huh.
me,
Yep.
before I look at color. But I see a lot of people chasing the color and the Merle gene
Yeah,
um, and
for
not really
sure.
looking for what's gonna better the breed. So you end up with color, but you know, not
Not
much.
necessarily a good looking
Yeah,
dog or the best dog.
yeah,
Um, and that's for sure. But that's always what money is going to do to you. So if somebody sees someone selling something for more a higher price than anything, everyone's going to chase that.
yeah,
I feel like at the end of the day. So when we outcrossed, I think Chinook was tri, but Zoro's black. I don't even think he carries tri. And I was just looking for healthier dogs that carried some of the structure and blood that I actually, was fond of. I didn't care about color. We already have color. Um, at this point, um, color does sell better. When we have a litter and you have a full tri and you have a solid dog, the full tri is going to be in higher demand as
yeah,
far as selling to clients, and that's just the experience that I've had. But definitely doesn't mean it's going to be the better dog though.
yeah. And how did you make all of your connections as far as the athletes and the famous individuals that you sold your dogs to?
I think once you sell to a couple, that are fond of you, the
Hmm.
word of mouth is kind of just trickles from there.
Yeah,
Um, I don't think people really care that we sell to athletes, which is so funny. Because to be honest, when I post up, I used to do a post when I would sell one to somebody, and it would get one of the least likes from the regular dog pictures.
yeah,
So, we do have a bunch of the athletes we sold to on the homepage, that I put up there years and years ago. I'm not sure how much that matters to everybody else. I mean, and I'm not sure how much that's really done for us because that's definitely not our number one customer either,
yeah,
you know? So I don't know about the significance behind that. I remember in the beginning how thinking about how cool that was, and I
yeah,
was so excited and stoked. And then I think the I think the buzz from that died down, and
yeah,
uh, yeah, and it's cool, but it's definitely not you know the best thing on earth, and it's definitely
yeah,
not going to take your kennel to the next level if you sell to an athlete.
yeah, yeah. I think you kind of it it kind of the rush came down because you're a celebrity now.
Oh
So
God, I am
I think
definitely
that
as
matters too.
far. I am definitely as far from a celebrity as it gets. Maybe I mean maybe I'm known in the dog world, but no, I'm not, definitely not close to a
Yeah.
celebrity. Not close to a celebrity at all. I think it. Not all. I've had some great celebrity clients.
Mhm.
Two of my favorite, John Wall and Trent Williams.
Yeah.
Great guys. Great guys. Really, really nice. Really humble. But I've had a handful of not so nice ones too. You know what I mean? In the
Okay.
long run, like it's just experiences. That
Mhm.
even some, and I won't name names that I wouldn't sell a dog to again, or I had one that like didn't even tell me when it arrived at the airport, and I had talked to this guy. I was so excited and didn't even have the decency to answer any of my messages to know. And then I later was able to view that the dog did arrive, but after he got the dog, just kind of that attitude of,
Yeah.
someone being, better or more important. You know, I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not a big fan of that
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I've had both
It's a turn
good
off.
and bad experiences for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a turn off. Um, so when you first started, and I guess I'm asking for personal, when you first started, did you like deliver your puppies yourself? Like as far as like to the people that were purchasing?
When I first started, I lived in Northern California, and most of the people that bought my puppies, I believe, were like local.
Okay.
When I first started selling puppies, I wasn't selling them for a lot of money, and a lot of the people were local mostly. I
Mhm.
wasn't even really shipping them at that point.
Okay. So when you started shipping, did you just have a shipper that you used, or did you
We put
try
them
to
on
like?
cargo. I put them on a plane, like
Okay.
underneath, and then we
Yeah.
shipped them as cargo. Um, and then they would arrive and the people would go and pick them up from the cargo port at their airport. Now we do a lot of puppy nanny shipments. um one of my best friends actually um delivers a lot of our dogs for us, Charisse. So
Okay.
we're lucky to have her. And then, she hand delivers them to the customers a lot and carries them on the plane. But that only works up into a certain amount of pounds.
Yeah.
And once they get over a certain amount of weight, I know she's told me a couple times, like, girl, this dog's about 40 pounds. I can't put this dog in this little carrier. Like, there's no
Yeah.
way. So, then you kind of have to ship them cargo or, a different route. But I definitely love the hand delivery because then you know who's handling the dog and that the dog's safe the entire time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, do you have any advice for the people that are watching? I know I had one young lady, and she's like your biggest fan. Um, she's messaged me every day, like, "Hey, make sure you post it. Make sure you post it. Make sure you post it." And she's just trying to get into the game. But she is literally your biggest fan.
Who's my biggest fan? What's her name?
Let me look her up. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it up.
I need a fan today.
Yeah, so her name is her name on Instagram is underscore pretty dot stoned underscore.
Pretty stoned.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
she's literally your biggest fan. She's messaged me every day, and she loves you.
That's
Um,
very sweet.
yeah.
Very, very sweet. You know what's so funny is they say that the people you talk to the most hate you the most, and the people you don't know are the ones that love you the most. The ones that love you the most.
that's that's normally the way it works.
Um, I'm flattered and honored. One of the best things about having this platform, I think, is, that I am a female, and a lot of people have, brought that fact up. And, I'm honored that I can do anything to pave the way to inspire any other female to, go out and pursue whatever it is that they want to pursue. Um, Advice for people getting into it, it's foundation and fundamental principles, and no one ever wants to believe it or listen to it. Like I said in the beginning, if you're going to do something, do it with honesty, do it with integrity. Go out and treat people the way you want to be treated. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, if people start drama, try to back out of it, stay away from it, get out of it. At the end of the day, don't antagonize back. Try to, and sometimes that's hard. You know what I mean? I remember one time, I'm a big basketball fan. I remember one time the fans were heckling, I think it was LeBron James's mom or LeBron James or something, right? And then he
Mhm.
came out and they said to him, a sports broadcaster said to LeBron and said, "Hey, how did you feel about what happened?" And he said, "Man, sometimes it sure is hard to take the high road." you know and it is I felt him because when you work so hard at something, or that you're true at something, and then people say untrue things, or do this or that, sometimes it's hard to take the high road. But taking the high road always puts you in a better spot than doing the opposite, entertaining it. Always, every single time. So take the high road, ignore the negativity, do the best you can by you and your dogs, do the best you can by every single person you deal with. Be transparent, be honest. People can tell, people know. So, and that's the other thing, like at the end of the day, people know what the truth is and what the truth isn't. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? People can say all this or say that, but people know. And there's a reason why, we have so many people that come back and buy dogs from us and such a big following. And it's not because, of this or that lie. It's because people trust me or people trust us. And that's everything. And why do they trust us? Probably because we're transparent. Probably because we're telling them this and telling them that and treating them the way we want to be treated. And does every single customer I've ever dealt with like me? No, of course not. That's
Not
not going to
everybody.
happen. You can't
Yeah.
get 100%. I've dealt with some crazy people. And the best thing to do with the crazy people is give them their money and get away from them. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? At the end of the day, like, just avoid the situation. So nobody's going to get 100% satisfaction rate. But I think that most of the people I have relationships with, and that clients that are good clients of ours, that they like me. They like the straightforwardness. They respect it, and it creates a good relationship. And then they trust me to send us, you know, a lot of money, X amount of dollars, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the most important. And a lot of people, it's so crazy that a lot of people don't get that. You know, people look so short term and not long term, you know,
Yeah.
and by that I mean like, oh man, I really need this 5,000. I don't want to give this guy his 5,000 back, you know,
Yeah.
or whatever. But they, and you do this guy right, seven more people are going to come from him, you know?
Yeah.
That's the long term vision versus short term. Same
Yeah.
thing with the health testing.
Yeah. And that's I see a lot of um scammers, uh to put it nicely. And I actually dealt with one. But it was it's an experience, it's a learning experience.
Like
Um
scammers that say they have dogs that they don't really have, or
um
scammers that
Scammers
do
that,
have dogs and just
yeah, both. I see scammers that post other people's dogs, take deposits on them, or scammers that have dogs, and they just do other things, like not send paperwork, or never deliver the paperwork, or don't deliver the dog and take the money. Um, so I've seen a lot of that, um,
me too.
which doesn't it. I mean, it doesn't help the game at all.
No, it doesn't.
It actually makes it a lot harder. So I mean, what do you say to people as far as that goes? Like, people are trusting you with $20,000, for instance, um, for you to use Jumanji. So what would you say to somebody that is studying out their dog, um, or is about to purchase this, make pay the stud fee? How do you kind of secure it, other than the contract? Because contracts can be, they can be wordy.
Yeah, so, you know, to be honest with you, and in the most, you know, non-arrogant way possible is, fortunately, like a lot of people that call me to you know, use the studs and stuff, they don't, you know, I never do any talking into. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're fully sold. I'm probably a terrible salesman because if anything I talk people out of things. You know what I mean? Just because I really want to make sure somebody wants before they get it. So
yeah,
like if I don't sell a pyramid scheme, I also never do that. I don't say, "Hey guys, buy a $20,000 dog, buy another $20,000 dog and you can make tons of $20,000 puppies."
yeah,
That's not the case, you know? So um, if somebody sends me money, which you know numerous people have for Jumanji for 20,000, and even Good Bar and stuff, I stay in touch with them. Hey, have you tested? You know, if they tell me the dog's coming in heat. Actually, this just happened with a gentleman. Just recently, I was checking in with him more than he was checking in with me, and I'm like, hey, buddy, you know, did you get your dog checked again? Like, what are the numbers? And I also sometimes try to send a frozen out there in advance to people that want to take it to secure the stud. That way, if their dog ovulates and quick and it's you can't get semen or they check and the number's 25, they can breed the same day. They have the
yeah,
semen there already. So I'm always just trying to do extra because they're spending that type of money. And I know the gentleman Jonathan had told me the other day, he's like, man, thank you so much. Like, I can't believe how much you call and you know how much you're caring about my breeding. And I said, hey, you're spending, you know, 20 grand with us. I want to see you win. I want to see you succeed. And it's funny because sometimes I feel like I want to see these people win more than they want to see themselves win, you know. But at the end of the day, that's kind of what I do is I try my best to give superior customer service. Now with the volume that we have been doing, you know, we are spread out. And Jacqueline, who's my right hand man, she's the operations manager. A lot of people know her as Janelle. She deals with a lot of customers too. Um, you know, so it's kind of trying to maintain that personalization relationship while the you know volume is raised, you know. And I definitely want to make sure that you know we're still able to give everybody you know the customer service that I would want. It's super 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 important.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, I've taken up an hour of your time, and I appreciate you being on the show. Um,
Of course, yeah, of
any
course.
any any last words you want to say to the people?
um just thanks for airing in, thanks for being interested enough to listen to what I had to say. Tune back in maybe to more of these podcasts. They seem like they could definitely be beneficial for people that are, you know, starting to get into breeding and everything like that. And I appreciate you having me on your show.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Everybody that tuned in, thanks for checking in with Nothing But DOGScast. We'll be back next Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Peace.
All right. Bye.